Welcome, and thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Members of the media, we'll do a little Q&A right after the statement. Thank you.
My deep thanks to Mayor Lightfoot for convening a group of community leaders here with us today. Violence has been impacting all the communities across Chicago, and it has really hurt the University of Chicago community, as you know. Since the murder of Shao Xiong, also known as Dennis, I've had a very close set of conversations with the mayor and with Superintendent Brown. As you know, a few days ago we announced a series of enhanced law enforcement measures that we will be taking together with the Chicago Police Department. And I'm very grateful for that partnership. Safety is my unequivocal top priority, and the partnership with the mayor, the city, and the many community groups that were brought together today are critical for us. We're committed to working with our community leaders to address long-term issues as well as the short-term law enforcement approaches that we've discussed. And so today was an important event for us to listen to community leaders and to work on developing some joint plans which you'll be hearing about in future days. Again, I'd like to thank Mayor Lightfoot for convening this group.
Thank you, Mr. President. And let me also just give a note of thanks and praise to you as well. You've been a very thoughtful, powerful leader in helping us understand the real guttural feeling that people in this community have been experiencing since the tragic events of 2 weeks ago. And let me also just say, being here, that I want to again thank the detectives who worked tirelessly over 48 hours, literally round the clock, to make sure that we brought justice to the family of the victim, but also to this university community. Any time a loss of life happens in our city, it's a terrible shock and trauma, and this was no different. So we've got to continue to do everything that we need to make sure that we're addressing the needs of Hyde Park and Kenwood, but also Woodlawn and other areas of our city that continue to be plagued by way too much violence. And this community is special to me. It's really where I began my long-term romance with this incredible city. I came here in the late summer of 1986 as a student and was in awe of the magnificent things about the city of Chicago that we all now know and love. So it is important to me that we are in partnership with the president, with this community, and we've had a lot of great, thoughtful conversations around what we can do in the short term to make sure that we are bringing safety and peace to this community, and we're committed to that. The discussion that we were just in not only covered that, but really talked about what we need to be doing more in concert with each other to address long-term solutions. We all know that the only way for us to truly bring peace is not with more police, and I know the superintendent agrees with that, but to make sure that we are getting at the root causes of violence. What is it that drives a young person to pick up a gun and shoot indiscriminately, to cause harm, seemingly without any regard for the sanctity of life? Unfortunately, on a daily basis, we are asking ourselves these questions. And rather than just ask and react, we have committed, and particularly with the budget that was just passed, $1.2 billion of investments to strengthen young people and families all across our city so that we give our families and their children real opportunity at the earliest possible stage, so that the trajectory that too many young people have been on, which leads them to be involved in violence, in drug dealing, in jail, prison, or on a coroner's table. That is the thing that we must work diligently night and day to turn around. We know who our enemy is here. It's the gangs and guns. But what we also know is that the only way forward is to be united with a common sense of purpose and make investments in our young people that are going to redound to their benefit and the benefit of our city for decades to come. And we are committed to doing that. We're doing that hard work every day. And I know that I'm speaking not only for members of my government, my administration, but people of the faith community, community-based organizations that have been doing this hard work for decades. The difference now is that we are united and focused on making measurable, concrete differences in communities that are under siege. We can't afford to waste any time, any energy by being anything other than coordinated, diligent, and intentional about the work. And that's where we are. And I am grateful to the President and really the entire university community that understands what needs to be done and is fully committed in making sure that we work together to get it done on behalf of our residents. I'll now turn it over to the Superintendent.
What's encouraging this morning is really the backdrop to the President, the Mayor, and I, is that we have others standing with us in trying to diagnose and prescribe solutions to reducing violence. The police officers can't do it alone. Chicago Police Department has done an extraordinary job in the most difficult circumstances, likely the most difficult circumstances to police that we've seen in our country in decades, if not ever. We've taken more guns off the street than we ever have. We've solved more homicides than we have in over 15 years. And yet we still see this daily drumbeat of violence. And so the backdrop to us today are these leaders in our community who are here standing with us. It's so encouraging because it's been discouraging to stand at the podium alone trying to answer why we have the violence that we have. So today was a day of conversation, but also of action. So I just wanted to thank the people standing with us. I want to thank the university president. Thank you so much for standing with us in our discussions and our actions toward working together as a whole of government. And now I love the president's whole of community approach to reducing violence. Thank you.
So we're happy to take any questions if you have any.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
so,
Evelyn.
We'll kick it off with Evelyn from ABC 7.
The floor is yours.
Just like I like it, I love it. Anyway, Mayor, you spoke. Can you understand me okay? Or should
Yes,
I
I can.
Okay. You spoke about actions, having conversations and actions. What are the specific actions, the immediate actions that people who are in the neighborhood, not just U of C, but surround the area, what will they see? What are the changes? What are you all going to do?
Well, I'll also defer to the superintendent because a lot of those things were announced the other day. But immediately, literally that day after the tragic murder that happened, we stepped up patrols in this area. We coordinated immediately with University Police. We're bringing other resources to the table, but we are going to be visible and present in a way that is different than pre the shooting. That's really important. The university, when I came here in 1986, Hyde Park is unrecognizable from those times. More people are here, there's more commerce, there's more activity. That's all to the good. But we need to make sure that we are extraordinarily responsive to the needs of not just Hyde Park, but Kenwood, Oakwood, Woodlawn, South Shore. This is a larger community than just the footprint of the university itself. So a lot of what we're doing is listening to community leaders about what they believe will make a difference in the short term and the long term, but also making sure that we are literally physically present and being as great a partners as we can in moving forward. And I'll invite the superintendent to talk about some of the...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What they're telling you, what are they saying to you? And then superintendent, I'm just wondering, a lot of people will see this as a, I don't want to say spike, but they will see it as an increase in crime in the area. What is causing this?
So let me just answer your first question first, and I'll answer that on the back end. Maybe my answer will answer both. We added more officers to the area dedicated to this particular area. We're collaborating more with the University of Chicago Police Department. We added technology. As you know, we solved the crime of Mrs. Zheng's murder by using technology, both pod cameras, video cameras, and license plate readers. So we're adding that technology as well as collaborating with University of Chicago Police, not only in roll calls, but we're sharing intelligence much more. So a dedicated police presence, also technological improvements, as well as improved collaboration. And I think the go forward will be this conversation we had today with actionable items we discussed about how we collaborate even more, how we get involved with our young people even more beyond just Hyde Park, and how we interact with young people to reduce violence. So I think that answered both your questions.
Well,
Coco from Cinevision, please.
Okay,
Oh,
okay, then I'll.
I think Evelyn had one follow-up. That's good.
You've answered part of it, but not the entirety of it.
Okay.
What's causing what this appears to be this spike?
So what many experts say is there's many factors. The pandemic factors, likely some traumatic factors where people are experiencing more trauma. Likely there are some things beyond law enforcement that's impacting this, jobs, people's health. The fact that COVID has taken so many lives in the Black and brown community creates this anxiety, depression. People are on edge because they don't have this sense that the social service safety net that we once had before pandemic is capturing enough people. And some of the conversations I think that we had this morning answers that likely we need more of a public health approach in our whole of government approach to dealing with people where they are as it relates to the stress, trauma, anxiety that they're experiencing because of a lot of things that happened because of the pandemic over these last 18 months. Experts are all over the place. Likely too many guns in the hands of violent people without enough consequences would be my first answer as a law enforcement professional. We need more serious consequences for violent people would be my number one, but I think the wraparound services, social services are also will be my 1A and 1B answer to your question. Thanks.
So if I can just add a little bit to that, and I'll pick up on the last points that the superintendent made. Again, I'm mindful of the fact that we're here at one of the great education institutions in the world, and I think that the cause is complex and it's multi-layered. In the short term, I think the answer is we are seeing the manifestations of decades of disinvestment in Black and brown neighborhoods in our city. There's no question about it. Exacerbated by a pandemic that infected the entire ecosystem of public safety, which is way more nuanced and multifaceted than simply the police department. But I will also say, again, and I agree with the superintendent, we have to have a system of accountability. We have to have a system of accountability. And there are way too many violent, dangerous people out on the street who have proven that they are violent and dangerous, have proven that they don't have any regard for the sanctity of life, and they are simply not being held accountable by our criminal justice system. And to be clear here, we are not talking about turning Cook County Jail into a debtor's prison. We are not talking about locking up non-violent offenders. But I do not believe that anybody within the sound of my voice, anyone with a person of goodwill, thinks that murderers, attempted murderers, rapists, people who are carjacking with guns should be walking the streets. And unfortunately, that is the sad reality in Cook County. And we have got to continue to work with our county partners to impress upon them the importance of holding these folks accountable. Everybody is, of course, entitled to a presumption of innocence. I believe very strongly in that as a lawyer, as a former prosecutor, as a former defense attorney. But I also know that people who have a rap sheet a mile long, who have committed yet another violent act, the public expects for us to hold them accountable. And right now in Cook County, that is simply not happening. And I'm going to be speaking to the courts here soon, and it will be no surprise to anybody in that discussion that I am going to bring very specific, concrete examples where the courts have not held up their part of the bargain. And they have to. We cannot continue to go on in the way that we are if we want to change the results. All of us are committed. We are committed to the long term. We're committed to the public health approach to violence. But all of that will be for naught if there is not a measure of accountability for folks who do harm. We teach our children to be accountable. We must make ourselves accountable when it comes to taking violent, dangerous people off the street. Pure and simple.
Coco from Cinevision, go ahead.
May I have a question to the superintendent?
And you're going to have to speak up a little bit, I believe.
Yeah, actually wondering, so for the Shao Xiong case, are there any?
You mind removing your mask because I can't hear?
We're just wondering, are there any accomplices in Shao Xiong's case right now?
Yeah, so the question was, are there any accomplices? We are continuing to investigate the case. The offender, we arrested Mr. Spann. He was arrested with other people that we weren't able to charge. We're continuing to review video, and we're continuing to ask the public to come forward if they have any information that likely will connect more dots as it relates to were there any accomplices. But right now, we only have the one person charged with first-degree murder, Mr. Spann, right now. But we're continuing to investigate whether that we can prove others should be charged as well.
Did any of the representatives or representative from Cook County State's Attorney's Office or even like the Chief Judge, were they invited to hear or be a part of this conversation where they could kind of get a perspective of, from you all's perspective of what you're dealing with, and obviously superintendent, the results of, I mean, you see it every day, the results of some of these, is my word, missteps or process.
The county board president and the local alder people were invited to be here today, but for various reasons they were not able to participate with us. Look, this is not a one and done conversation. It cannot be. We've got to continue on. There were a lot of, I think, incredibly good and thoughtful ideas that were brought to the table today by our community partners, and we want to make sure that we're following up on them. And one thing that I'm committed to is making sure that we also use our convening power to facilitate more discussions, more education, and more innovation in ways that we can craft, I think, interventions at every point in the lifespan of our residents to help them be able to lead better, healthier, stronger lives and make communities more vibrant. And I think that's a commitment that I feel coming out of this discussion today.
That's a wrap, Mayor. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Can I ask two more?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a
All
good
right.
one.